After 25 years of mockery, I finally revealed my incredible journey to CFO. They were shocked. Sarah stood in front of the mirror, her breath shallow and heart racing. The reflection staring back at her was more than just a single mother, the mechanic's daughter. It was a woman who had fought tooth and nail, who had weathered ridicule and judgment for decades and still emerged standing tall. Today was different. Today, she would break the chains of small-town expectations. Every mocking laugh echoed in her mind, reminding her of whispers in the diner and conversations turned cold when she entered the room. But her daughter, Mia, needed more than this life of quiet desperation. She needed to know her mother fought for them both, not just against poverty, but for something much bigger: respect, dignity, and hope. The day wore her down as she rushed from work at the auto shop to her night classes, poring over finance textbooks like they held the secret to a better life for Mia. Each page turned felt heavy with the weight of her dreams. But all the while, there was still laughter ringing in her ears, a reminder of who people thought she was destined to be. Passing the diner, Sarah felt that familiar knot in her stomach tighten. She steeled herself for their sideways glances, their assumptions that cast shadows over her. But no more. Today, she had an interview at the local firm, and she resolved to show them the woman she became through all those years of struggle. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. When she entered the firm's conference room, her pulse quickened. The board members, men in tailored suits, seemed to look right through her. But behind that facade, she felt the glimmer of hope, a spark ignited by curiosity and desire. She launched into her pitch, her voice steady, pulled by the urgency of her dreams. Each word flowed from her heart, digging deep into her soul, revealing the fire she had obscured for so long. Then came the announcement. We're pleased to announce that Sarah has been chosen as the new CFO, the CEO proclaimed, his words reverberating through her. Shock and disbelief washed over her, but a wave of pride surged through the room. The very people who laughed at her started to murmur, their shock turning to disbelief. As the news radiated through town, she knew she'd have to face those smiles turned awkward. It was inevitable. Soon, she found herself face to face with familiar faces, the friends who had turned their backs when life got tough. There was an intensity in the air, a palpable tension, one she hadn't felt in years. "Sarah," one friend began, their eyes wide with astonishment. This is unbelievable." "Is it?" She shot back, a sharp edge to her voice. They needed to understand. She had not just filled a position, she had carved her name in a world where they assumed she didn't belong. Thoughts collided in her mind, boiling into words that would break the silence of their shared history. "Can you forgive all those years?" she continued, anger simmering. "Or will you let those chains hold you back from seeing who I've become?" The echoes of the past pulled at her heart, but today, she stood firm. As their eyes searched for understanding, the question lingered in the air, heavy and unyielding. Would they finally see her for who she had transformed into, or would the memories of laughter drown out the sound of justice? The moment hung in the air, a silence that buzzed with tension. Sarah could sense her old friend's surprise morphing into embarrassment, and that prickled the back of her neck. She had thought perhaps they'd come around, that the years of laughter at her expense might have faded into a shared understanding. Yet here they were, still grappling with the past when she was trying to forge a future. "Sarah, I never meant," another voice faltered, trying to bridge the gap between them. But she wasn't interested in explanations. She wanted recognition, validation, something lasting beyond their fleeting apologies. "Enough with the excuses," she interjected, her voice steady. "You didn't just mock my journey, you mocked my dreams." That stung deeper than any comment about my job or my clothes. I needed friends to lift me up, not push me down. The room thickened, faces reddening like the sky before a storm. Friends turned into strangers, each cut deeper than the last. All their lives had been intertwined, yet now they stood divided. Uncertainty brewed in their eyes, and Sarah felt a surge of triumph mixed with sorrow. She fought to hold on to the moment, to make them understand the woman she had become, built on grit and resilience, but the past had a way of creeping back in unexpectedly. Among her old friends, a single tear rolled down the cheek of one, Karen, who had been by her side during childhood. "You're going to show them, aren't you? Prove all of us wrong?" "Prove who wrong, Karen?" Sarah's voice softened, the anger giving way to a hint of vulnerability. "I'm not out for vindication, I want change. I want to breathe life into my dreams for Mia's sake." Just then, a small voice piped up from behind, and Sarah turned to see Mia standing at the edge of the gathering. Her daughter had been waiting quietly, watching this tense confrontation unfold. Her bright eyes, usually full of carefree laughter, were wide with uncertainty. It struck Sarah hard, a reminder of her true motivation. "Mom, are you okay?" Mia asked, stepping forward, her brows knitting together in concern. The air thickened with an awkward silence, now coating Sarah's heart in something heavier. She knelt down to meet Mia's gaze, grounding herself in that pure connection. "I'm more than okay, sweet girl. I'm letting people know who I am." With a mixture of confusion and pride, Mia's lips curled into a smile. "You're my hero," she whispered, wrapping her tiny arms around Sarah. Snug and warm, the embrace shifted the energy in the room once again. Old grudges hung in the air like distant stars, dim but visible. As Sarah stood up, she locked eyes with her friends one last time. "If you can't see me for who I am now, then maybe it's time I stop trying to fit into your idea of what I should be." With that, she turned, taking Mia's hand and walking away from the stunned crowd. Each step felt lighter, filled with purpose. This was just the beginning. The whispers behind her would no longer define her choices. As they grew quiet, a new fire ignited within her. Later that evening, as they sat together at the kitchen table, Sarah and Mia went through the remaining paperwork laid out for the firm. They laughed together, delighting in the normalcy of their lives, while the outside world seemed a distant reality, but doubt doesn't drift away easily. As she tucked Mia into bed, Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty. What if the support she desperately needed didn't come? What if those old chains attached themselves tighter than she thought? Before she clicked off the light, Mia whispered sleepily, "Mom, you're going to be amazing." Sarah smiled, but the seed of worry remained. What if everyone doesn't see me like you do? With that lingering question echoing in the stillness of the night, she wondered if true acceptance would never fully come, or if she would truly find her place. As she stepped outside, the cool air filled her lungs. She glanced at the stars' tiny beacons of promise. Would they see her shine? Would the world accept her now? An unfamiliar sound shattered the night's calm, pulling her attention away from her thoughts. It was the hum of a car pulling up in front of their home. The lights flickered across her face, illuminating her uncertainty. Who was stopping by this late? And why did that spark a sudden rush of apprehension within her? The headlights sliced through the darkness, momentarily blinding Sarah. She squinted, taking a cautious step forward. The car rolled to a stop, and a familiar figure stepped out, silhouette emerging against the glow. "Mark?" Her voice cracked, disbelief flooding her heart. It had been years since she had seen him, her younger brother, who had moved across the country for his career. The years had taken a toll. He looked older, sharper, his face drawn with lines Sarah hadn't expected. "Hey, sis." He shuffled toward her, hands shoved deep in his pockets, a slight hesitance hanging around him. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." Mia, peeking from behind Sarah's leg, whispered, "Is that Uncle Mark?" "Yes, sweetie," Sarah replied softly, her mind racing with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. For a moment, the world outside felt like a distant memory. Memories flooded in, holiday dinners, playful wrestles on the floor, nights spent talking about dreams that seemed so far away. But then her mood shifted. All those years apart and the silence that had grown between them suddenly felt heavier than ever. "Mom." Mia tugged at her shirt. "Can we invite him in?" "Yes, of course." Sarah nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. How would Mark react to her life, to the struggle she faced just to stand here? What if he was still wrapped up in their old lives, their childhood jokes she had outgrown? Let us sit down for a minute, Mark suggested, brushing past her into the house. His casual tone didn't betray the turmoil swirling beneath the surface. Sarah followed, anxiety building as she motioned for Mark to take a seat at the table. Mia was already rearranging her crayons, creating an almost festive assemblage as she flitted about. Wow, I didn't know this place had turned into a production studio. Mark chuckled lightly, but Sarah heard the underlying concern. I hope it's okay, I came to check on you, see how you've been doing. The warmth of his words was a stark contrast to the coldness she had felt with her friends. Like I said, I'm well, she replied, her heart pounding as uncertainty churned in her stomach. She wanted to share everything, her journey, the dreams for her daughter, the battles she faced, but fear held her back. Mia interrupted the moment, her excitement bubbling over. Uncle Mark, Mommy's going to be amazing. She's gonna help a lot of people with her new job. Mark's eyes lit up, a spark of curiosity mixed with something deeper. Really? What job? Sarah hesitated. This was the moment to reclaim her narrative. She took a deep breath, pushing away the doubts that whispered to retreat back into her shell. I've taken on a new role, CFO at a local firm. The words hung between them, taut and fragile. Mark blinked, then leaned forward, genuine surprise crossing his face. Wow, that's incredible. I knew you always had it in you. The warmth flooded back into Sarah's chest. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she felt seen. Yet a tiny voice echoed inside her, reminding her of the past. But do you really think that? Or is it the sisterly duty talking? Mark's expression shifted, growing serious. Sarah, I heard things about how they treated you back in the day. That wasn't right. I regretted not being there for you. Her throat tightened. It's okay, Mark. I'm here now, and I'm stronger. But your support would mean the world to me. He nodded, a flicker of realization shifting in his gaze. You're doing this for yourself and Mia, right? But what if I told you I'm still here to help? His words opened a doorway she hadn't seen coming. Possibilities flashed in her mind, the battles ahead, the struggles of rebuilding connections, and the potential for new support. As she looked into her brother's eyes, she finally felt a sliver of hope glimmer. Would they both step into a new chapter, one where they could finally be allies instead of distant relatives? The clock ticked loudly in the background, and as she looked outside, the stars shone brightly, reminders of dreams awakened. Just as the weight of the moment settled in, another car pulled into the driveway, this time honking its horn impatiently. Looks like we're not done yet, Sarah muttered, her heart racing again. This time, was it return of the past? Or a surprise that could change everything? The sound of the honking horn pierced the air, pulling Sarah from her thoughts. She exchanged a quick glance with Mark, whose eyebrows raised in curiosity. What now? He asked, a hint of tension threading through his voice. Sarah shrugged, her nerves flickering again. I have no idea. Let us find out. Mia, sensing the shift in atmosphere, scampered to the window. Mommy. There's a lady in the car. Great. Just what I need, Sarah murmured, forcing a smile. She felt a swirl of emotions, anticipation mixed with a touch of dread. Who could it be? Mark stood, his body tensing slightly as he moved toward the door. Something about him seemed protective. I'll go check. No, I'll handle it, Sarah insisted, her voice firm. She needed to prove to herself that she could face whatever was coming, one step at a time. With Mark's eyes on her, she opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. The figure in the driver's seat turned off the engine and emerged. It was Jessica, an old colleague from her previous job, the one who had spread rumors and made snide remarks that dug deep, cutting into her confidence. As Jessica approached, Sarah caught a glimpse of the confident stride she'd always remembered. Sarah. Hello. Jessica's bright smile felt almost too forced, too cheerful for the moment. Hi, Jessica. What brings you here? Sarah's voice remained steady, though inside, thoughts raced. Why now? Jessica's gaze flickered nervously over Sarah, then moved to the house where Mark stood just inside the doorway, observing like a hawk. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd check in. I've heard some amazing things about you. Is that so? Sarah replied, unsure whether to believe her. She refused to shrink under the weight of past insults. Oh, come on. Everyone's been talking about how you landed the CFO position. That's impressive. Jessica's enthusiasm teetered on the edge of sincerity. Thanks, Sarah said, her heart pounding. It's been a journey, for sure. Must be nice to finally do something that matters, Jessica quipped, the old barb slipping out before she could catch herself. The words hung in the air, and Sarah stiffened, resistance building inside her. You know, not everyone's path looks the same. It's not always about the title. Mia's little voice called from behind her, Mommy, who's that? Just an old acquaintance, honey. Sarah forced a smile, but the tension was suffocating. I didn't mean to offend, Jessica's demeanor shifted slightly, as if realizing the weight of her words. I just thought no, you meant what you said, Sarah interjected, her voice sharp and unyielding. But I'm done letting people define my worth. Mark stepped out onto the porch, posture relaxed yet protective. Maybe this isn't the best time for a social catch-up. Jessica's eyes darted between them. I just wanted to congratulate you, Sarah, really. We all make mistakes. Just hoping we can start fresh. A mix of disbelief and hope swirled in Sarah. Could she let this moment define her? Should she even try? Mark's presence next to her felt reassuring, solidifying her stance. I appreciate that, Jessica, Sarah said, her voice steady. But I need to prioritize what's important to me now. After everything, I want to open the door for those who shut it in my face. Jessica looked taken aback, her expression shifting from confidence to uncertainty. I understand. The moment hung, heavy with unspoken words, then Jessica nodded slowly. Okay. Good luck, Sarah. With that, she turned and walked back to her car. Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. The door of her past was closed, at least for now. Mark turned to her, pride shining in his eyes. See? You've changed. That was strong. Thanks. It felt good, she admitted, breathless. The realization swept over her as she looked up at the stars, each one twinkling with new possibilities. But even as her heart soared, a troubling thought lingered. Would the past stay buried, or would it rear its head at the worst moment? As Mia tugged at her shirt, pulling her back into the house, Sarah smiled. She had a new journey ahead, but the shadows of her history might still lurk. What could come next? Would she find the strength to navigate whatever storms lay ahead? The air was crisp as the porch light flickered on, casting long shadows that danced around Sarah and Mark. Mia skipped inside, her small feet padding softly against the hardwood floor, leaving Sarah with a whirlwind of thoughts. She felt charged, yet the encounter with Jessica was still fresh. The sting of past insults tried to creep back in, but she wouldn't let them. Do you think she meant it? Sarah asked, breaking the silence that hung heavily between her and Mark. That she wanted to start fresh? Mark shook his head. Her words didn't match her demeanor. People often say things to fit in. You stood your ground, Sarah. That's what matters. She nodded slowly, allowing his reassurance to fill her with a sense of calm. Mark's unwavering support was like a beacon during a storm, reminding her that she was not alone. Yet, a lingering doubt whispered at the back of her mind. Was she strong enough to forge her path, free from the shadows of the past? As if sensing her turmoil, Mark took her hand, his grip steady. Let us not dwell on her. You've done so much. We should celebrate tonight. Celebrate what? Sarah's voice wavered. That I finally stood up to someone who bullied me? It feels a bit hollow. Mark smiled softly, tilting his head. No, celebrate you. The woman who fought through obstacles and came out on top. The woman I love. His words warmed her heart. She could feel the corners of her lips curving into a smile. You always know what to say. Only because I've seen you make those moves. You're just getting started. Want to get dinner? I can pick something up. Dinner it is, she agreed. But I'll cook the next time. I need to reclaim more than just my career. I want my life, my home. As Mark went into the kitchen, Sarah's thoughts drifted back to Jessica. Would she keep her distance or seek to re-enter her life again? The uncertainty felt like walking on a tightrope, considering how quickly everything could change. Hey, I'll order some Thai. Mark shouted from the other room, breaking her reverie. Sounds good. Sarah responded, feeling lighter. She moved to the window, glancing out into the dusky evening. The leaves rustled, whispering tales of change and transformation, and it hit her maybe this time, she truly was ready to let go. Yet, the phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, pulling her from her thoughts again. It was a notification, a message from an unknown number. Her heart raced as she reached out, hesitating just a moment before opening it. Was it bad news, or something else entirely? Mark. She called out, taking a deep breath. What's up? He appeared, holding a takeout menu. I think I'm about to find out, she said, staring at the screen, her heart pounding in anticipation. Find out what? Mark's curiosity piqued, stepping closer. She opened the message, her eyes wide. It was an invitation to a reunion at her old workplace, a place filled with memories that sometimes felt like shackles. Memories of laughter and camaraderie, entwined with whispered insults and smirks behind her back. Uh-oh, looks like you have a decision to make, Mark remarked, tilting his head to read the screen. Sarah's mind raced. Could she step back into that world? Who would be there? Jessica? Would she be strong enough to walk into that room with her head held high? Should I go? She found herself asking. Mark paused, taking a beat before speaking. What do you want? A question that cut deeper than she expected. The stars glittered outside, a reminder of her new journey. There was a world ahead, and it was hers to conquer, but this reunion could spark either a healing moment or a painful reminder. As she weighed her options, Sarah felt a shiver of excitement and fear. Was she ready for a confrontation, to face the people who had once doubted her? The answer hung in the air, waiting to be discovered as she considered the invitation. What would she choose? The next few moments felt like a lifetime as Sarah stared at her phone. Each second ticked by with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Reunions could be nostalgic, but they also had the power to claw at old wounds. Mark's eyes searched hers. Hey, take a breath, he said softly, his voice breaking through her spiraling thoughts. You don't have to decide now. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of his support. It was comforting, yet the fluttering in her stomach remained. I just can't shake off the memories, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Those years felt like a boxing match, always dodging punches. Mark squeezed her hand, encouraging her to voice it all. It's okay to remember. It's a part of your story. But you've changed. You aren't who you were then. I know, she said, reflecting on the last few months, a journey of self-discovery that felt almost surreal. She thought of the nights spent working late, juggling responsibilities, and pushing through doubts. But what if I walk in there and it all comes rushing back? The laughter at my expense, the feeling of never being good enough? Taking a deep breath, she glanced again at the invitation. It's just so tempting to say no. Mark shifted closer, his gaze steady. But what if this is your chance to show them who you really are? Not just to them, but to yourself? His words sparked something deep within. Sarah realized this might not just be a reunion, it could be a reckoning. She swept her eyes back to the message and read the details again. A reunion in a local restaurant, a comfortable setting, a less formal gathering. Many faces would be familiar, but some might also be kind strangers. The possibility filled her with a bittersweet rush. What's the worst that could happen? Mark asked gently. You could walk in there, own it, and leave feeling like $1,000,000 or realize you're still growing. I could be that Sarah again, just invisible and weak. But as she spoke, a new voice echoed inside her, a softer, more confident one. Or I could walk in there and be proud of who I've become. That's the spirit, Mark replied, his pride evident in his eyes. You gain strength with every step, this is just another one. And I'll be right here, cheering you on. Sarah smiled, grateful to have him by her side. After a moment of silence filled only by the soft rustle of leaves outside, she took a leap of faith. Okay. I'll go. Really? Mark beamed, squeezing her hand excitedly. I'm ready to show them. To show myself, she declared, the decision fortifying her resolve. The air felt lighter now, charged with possibility. As she began to feel the thrill of this new chapter, another thought popped into her head, the reality of facing Jessica again, a storm hidden behind her eyes. Would Jessica still carry the cruel edge from their past? Or had time softened her, too? Suddenly, the glow of the porch light became a metaphor for the path ahead, flickering but illuminating. Sarah felt empowered, yet the mystery of what awaited her was an itch that would linger until they met again. Just think, this could change everything, Mark said, completely oblivious to her uncertainty about Jessica. You could walk in and blow them all away. Maybe. Or maybe not, Sarah replied, half smiling but nervous knots still twisting in her stomach. One thing was for sure, the reunion was approaching fast, and she would have to put her courage to the test. How would she really feel when she stepped through that door? Would she leave behind all the wounds or face the past head-on? The evening carried on, light chatter and the scent of Thai food filling the air, but Sarah's mind buzzed with one question: what awaited her when the moment of truth arrived at the reunion? The day of the reunion dawned bright and warm, an ironic twist to the storm brewing inside Sarah's chest. Having spent the morning replaying her old high school memories, she now stood before the mirror, scrutinizing her reflection. The girl staring back and the woman she had become felt like two separate beings. She ran her fingers through her hair, straightening it one last time. Today's the day, Mark said, entering the room behind her. He looked sharp, wearing a navy shirt that made his eyes pop. She could see his supportive smile reflected in the glass. Easy for you to say, she replied with a nervous chuckle, but his enthusiasm was catching. You're ready. We'll head out soon, he encouraged, offering a thumbs up that only amplified her mix of dread and excitement. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. Decisions often hinged on moments like these, where courage swayed in the balance. As they drove to the restaurant, flashes of memories plagued Sarah's thoughts. She pictured herself as that awkward teenager, hovering on the edges of crowds while others laughed, exchanging private jokes. What if those clouds still lingered? But as Mark hummed along to the radio, she reminded herself of the woman she'd grown into, strong, capable, and free of the constraints of her past. Arriving at the venue, a quaint restaurant with charming outdoor seating, Sarah's heart raced. The laughter spilling from inside felt like a swarm of bees, buzzing with excitement. Come on, let us do this together, Mark said, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder as they stepped closer to the entrance. With each step, she felt her nervousness shift. This wasn't just about confronting old foes, it was also about celebrating new triumphs. As they entered, she scanned the space filled with familiar faces. Some she didn't recognize at first, while others sent waves of recognition crashing over her. There's Jessica. Mark whispered, nodding toward a table where Jessica sat surrounded by a few former classmates. Sarah's heart flipped at the sight. Her breath hitched slightly. Seeing her again brought all those forgotten insecurities rushing back. But just as quickly, she remembered Mark's urging voice, the opportunity to be proud, to show everyone the real Sarah. She straightened her back, letting the excitement wash over her. As they approached, Jessica turned, her face lighting up with surprise. Sarah? Wow, you look amazing. Thanks, Sarah replied, albeit a bit hesitantly. It felt surreal. Was this the same girl who had laughed at her all those years ago? Staring at Jessica's genuine smile, she wondered if the years had truly transformed them both. I heard you're in finance now? Jessica asked, her tone genuinely curious, as if the high school rivalry had melted away with time. Yes, I'm the CFO at my company, Sarah said, proud of the words as they rolled off her tongue. What? That's incredible. Jessica exclaimed, and for the first time, her reaction didn't sound forced. A ripple of surprise moved through the group. Their faces shifted from casual interest to awe, and in that moment, Sarah felt lifted. Mark beamed beside her, and the connection of shared joy forged a bond between her past and present. But an undercurrent of tension lingered. Would the judgment return? She glanced at the others at the table. Did they all truly see her now, or was this a momentary illusion? A clattering sound broke her thoughts as someone dropped their drink nearby, pulling her back to reality. Laughter erupted, this time not at her expense but at the little clumsiness of the moment. Come on, let us grab a drink and mingle, Mark suggested, nudging her forward. As they navigated the crowd, she felt sparkles of laughter and connection weaving around her, but as they settled into conversations, a voice beckoned from behind. Turning, Sarah found herself face to face with Jessica again. Can we talk? The invitation sparked a flurry of emotions within her. Would this be a friendly conversation or a trip back to old wounds? Sarah's heart raced. It seemed the real reunion was about to start. Not just with her peers, but with her past as well. What would Jessica say? And would she step into this moment ready to face whatever came next? Sure, Sarah managed to say, her voice steady despite the tempest of emotions swirling inside her. She glanced at Mark, who gave her an encouraging nod before stepping away to give them space. Let us go over there, Jessica said, motioning towards a quieter corner of the patio. As they walked, Sarah felt a familiar twinge of anxiety. What did Jessica want? Did she want to apologize or just to gawk at her accomplishments? They settled onto a wrought iron table, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses fading into the background. Sarah kept her composure, her heartbeat steady but loud in her ears. She watched Jessica, noting the subtle ways she had changed, more confident, perhaps, but still capable of the same girlhood charm. I'm glad you came today, Jessica said, breaking the silence. Honestly, I didn't think we'd have a chance to talk like this again. Sarah took a breath, contemplating her response. The wounds of the past itched at her, but she didn't want to lay blame. I'm glad too. It's surreal, isn't it? Jessica nodded, her expression shifting to a more serious tone. I wanted to reach out because I've thought a lot about high school. I did a lot of things I regret, especially with how I treated you. I was young and stupid. I see that now. The sincerity in Jessica's voice made Sarah's heart soften. This was not the approach she had prepared for. Part of her wanted to brace for an old attack, but here was a genuine admission instead. I appreciate that. It wasn't easy, you know. I felt invisible most of the time. Jessica's face fell slightly, a flicker of shame crossing her features. I can't imagine what that was like for you. I'm really sorry. We were all caught up in our own little worlds. For a moment, Sarah wrestled with her thoughts. Could she forgive? Could she let go of the hurt that had lingered all these years? Thank you for saying that. It means a lot, she replied, allowing a tentative honesty to flow between them. Honestly, I'm proud of you, Jessica said, a newfound respect in her tone. CFO? That's amazing. I always thought you were smart, but this is incredible. The compliment stung with bittersweet memories. Thanks. It took a lot of work, but I think it's important to rise above expectations, especially the ones we set for ourselves. Jessica smiled, and for the first time, it felt like they were on equal ground. Do you remember the spelling bee in 8th grade? I was so nervous, and I kept laughing to hide it. You went up after me and nailed it. A laugh escaped Sarah's lips, memories flooding back. Yes, and I was terrified. I thought you were going to jinx me with that giggle. I thought I would choke in front of everyone. Jessica continued, her laughter brightening the moment. With the years peeled away, they found comfort in shared memories, painting a new layer over their past adversities. Just then, a loud group formed near the bar, and Sarah's moment of camaraderie felt interrupted. Their old classmates were calling out Jessica's name, pulling her back into the crowd. I should go, Jessica said reluctantly, but she hesitated. Can we exchange numbers? Maybe grab coffee sometime? I want to hear more about your journey. Nerves crept back into Sarah's mind, shadows of insecurity whispering doubts. Yet, amidst it all, she felt something vital blooming, a feeling of connection and openness. Sure. I'd like that. As Jessica wrote down her number, Sarah realized that this day was not just about facing her past but also about forging new paths. The nervous energy that had buzzed in her chest felt lighter now, replaced by a spark of hope. After their exchange, Jessica rejoined the party, and Sarah took a moment to breathe deeply. Mark found her again, eyes shining with pride. How did it go? He asked, his interest palpable. Better than I expected, she confessed, her heart thrumming with the thrill of change, but just as she began to relax, Sarah noticed a group of familiar faces approaching, ones she didn't expect to see again. The knot tightened in her stomach. Would they bring back the ghosts she thought she had left behind? The weight of coming confrontation loomed over her, and she prepared for whatever would come next. What secrets would this next encounter unveil? The group drew closer, their laughter ringing out like chimes in a dissonant melody. Sarah's heart raced. She recognized them all too well: Angela, Dean, and Nick. The trio had been part of the cruel clique in school that had found petty joy in teasing her. They had never truly seen her, only the mask of her awkwardness. Look who it is. Angela called out, her tone dripping with feigned sweetness. Sarah Green, the high school wallflower. Wow, you cleaned up nice. Heat flooded Sarah's cheeks as she forced a smile. Behind her calm facade, a storm brewed. She wanted to stand tall, to confront the specters of her past without crumbling. But the fear of being mocked again curled around her like a creeping vine. Hey, Angela, Sarah replied, striving for a lightness that felt alien. Thanks, you too, she added, nodding at the designer dress Angela wore. Dean stepped forward, eyeing her with both challenge and curiosity. CFO? That's impressive, he said, tilting his head as if genuinely intrigued. Yet the sarcasm lay just beneath the surface. Mark stepped beside her, tightening the space between them. His easy confidence radiated a warmth that offered Sarah a small buffer against the icy past. She's done amazing things, he said, his voice steady and clear. Work like hers doesn't go unnoticed. The laughter died down, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Sarah felt her heartbeat against her ribs, each pulse a drum of defiance. Perhaps that silence filled with unspoken thoughts could serve as a chance for her to shift the narrative, if she had the courage. Yeah, it's wild, she said, summoning her strength. Hard work pays off, and I've learned that believing in yourself is the most important thing. The words turned a little shaky at the end, but she held her ground, meeting their expressions head-on. Believing in yourself? Guess that was tough for you back then, Nick said, his smirk reappearing, like an old, unwelcome friend. But Sarah focused on the way she had started to feel after reconnecting with Jessica. Those memories she had woven with laughter seemed to fuel her rising spirit. Maybe, she responded, lifting her chin. But I've fought hard to get where I am, and I learned not to let the insecure be the ones to define my worth. A moment of hesitation washed over the group before Dean broke it with a half-hearted chuckle. So you're saying you're no longer that nerd we all remember? The question was light, but the intent behind it was sharp like glass. No, Sarah asserted. I'm no longer just a memory, I'm someone you'll hear about in boardrooms. The trio exchanged glances, surprise and confusion etched on their faces. It felt strange to Sarah. This wasn't the moment she expected, yet it felt right to assert herself. The knot in her stomach began to unravel, liberating the weight she carried for so long. Whatever helps you sleep at night, I guess, Angela finally said, but her tone lacked conviction. It was as if their previous power had begun to slip from their grasp, unsettling them. And you know what? Sarah continued, emboldened. Life moves on. I hope you all find joy in yours, far away from the endless high school theatrics. Mark's proud smile met her gaze, and she felt buoyed by his support as the breathing space between her and her high school adversaries expanded. But even as she began to feel triumphant, one thought nagged at her: was this really closed? As the trio stepped back, muttering to themselves, Sarah's confidence surged. But lingering in the distance, she caught the eye of another old classmate, one whose silence had always haunted her. The familiar weight returned, sinking deep into her chest. What would happen if they approached next? Would they see her newfound strength or take it as an invitation to challenge her again? With that uncertainty looming, Sarah prepared for another potential confrontation. Would she stand her ground, or could something from her past unravel the progress she had just made? The buzzing atmosphere of the reunion felt electric, but Sarah's heart raced as she caught sight of another familiar figure weaving through the crowd: Lily. Her presence loomed large, like a ghost from her past. Lily had been the queen bee back in high school, untouchable, and often wielded her popularity like a weapon against those deemed inferior. In the pit of her stomach, Sarah felt that familiar knot tightening. Would Lily relish in taking shots at her, just as she had all those years ago? Look who it is. Sarah Green, the underdog turned big shot CFO. Lily crooned, her voice silky but laced with an edge that made Sarah's pulse quicken. The crowd shifted, an eager audience at a performance. How's it feel to make it out of the garage? The laughter rippled through the air, and instantly, Sarah's chest tightened. Memories flooded back, the whispers, the stares, the feeling of being less than enough. But not today. She could feel Mark's comforting presence beside her, steadying, grounding. The warmth of confidence bubbled inside her. Using the past as her fuel, she took a deep breath and met Lily's gaze, refusing to back down. It feels pretty amazing actually, she replied, a whisper of determination in her voice. I've come a long way from being the girl you thought you could trample on. A ripple of surprise washed over the onlookers, and for a split second, the bravado in Lily's eyes flickered. Wow, someone's grown a backbone. And many others, Sarah shot back, brushing aside the veneer of intimidation. Her smile was bright as she continued, but thanks for the motivation. Your laughter and judgments only pushed me harder. I'm proud of the journey I've taken. The soft gasps of the crowd spoke volumes. For once, their shared history was shifting in her favor. She felt their eyes on her, watching her not as a forgotten figure lost in the shadows, but as the fierce woman she had fought to become. What if you didn't cling to those memories? Sarah's voice rang out, the confidence behind her words rising like the tide. What if you finally recognize that life is filled with so much more than petty high school games? I'm grateful I didn't stay stuck in that past. For a moment, the air hung thick, silence resonating louder than the laughter. Lily shifted, visibly unnerved. The thrill of standing tall replaced the heaviness in Sarah's heart, and as she glanced around, she caught sight of the shiny new beginnings glimmering in her newfound friendships. Listen, I didn't come here to get into some catfight, Lily replied now, her chipper facade faltering. I came to reconnect. But the words felt hollow after the sharp barbs exchanged. Looking at her unwaveringly, Sarah felt the release of feelings long suppressed. Then let us actually reconnect, she offered, her voice steady. There's more to life than what we held on to back then. The moment passed, and she could see the uncertainty in Lily's eyes. As they stood in that crowded room, the walls of their past felt like they were coming down, brick by brick. With newfound courage, Sarah made her choice beyond all the hurt. She wanted to step into the light and foster healing. I'd like that, Lily said, her voice softening, touching the collective sigh of approval from the surrounding crowd. It's never too late, Sarah smiled, a genuine warmth radiating in that unexpected gesture, and in doing so, the years of animosity began to fade. Moments later, laughter resumed in the air around them, but it no longer felt filled with judgment, it felt like celebration. Little by little, she found herself in conversations, reminiscing, filled with the joy of new connections forged by maturity and enlightenment. Hey, I'm proud of you, Mark whispered, leaning close. That was a mature way to handle your past. Thank you. She looked at him, deep appreciation shining in her eyes. I couldn't have done it without you, she admitted, basking in the comfort of his support. As the night carried on, she felt laughter echoing, balancing out old wounds with new wisdom. Each interaction felt lighter, covered in layers of laughter and sincerity. It was a testament to how far she'd come, and as conversation sparkled around her, Sarah also spotted Mia from across the room, a soft smile gracing her daughter's lips, a light of pride in her wide eyes. Sarah felt a warmth wash over her. Yes, today had been a victory, not just for herself but for her daughter too. She had shown Mia that resilience has a way of rewriting narratives, unveiling new horizons. As the reunion wound down, Sarah absorbed every moment, knowing they were building something greater than just memories. They were healing the past, and as the final goodbye lingered in the air, she realized it was her moment to shine, her story no longer tethered by shadows but illuminated by hope and transformation. Together, we'll create our own tale, she whispered to herself, holding Mia's hand tightly, stepping away from the past and into a future shimmering with promise. With every step forward, Sarah felt lighter, knowing that she could face anything life threw her way. As they climbed into the car, Mia couldn't hold back. Mom, you were amazing. I'm proud of you. And as Sarah turned to her daughter, that radiant smile broke through, reflecting everything she'd fought for. Thank you, Mia. We're just getting started. With laughter breaking like dawn over their determined hearts, they drove away into the night with the past behind and a luminous future ahead. This is the moment you embrace your own journey, rise above challenges with courage and hope, and share your own transformations with others. If this story inspired you, you need to subscribe now for more. Hit that bell for all notifications so you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to help spread the word and ensure these stories grow. Let's empower each other together. And please, comment below your thoughts and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And for the love of transformation, share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how powerful change can be in their own lives. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this journey.